While we encourage all to share their opinions, we do not support any comments that may slander, discriminate, or otherwise offend anyone, and we insist that you refrain from any such statements.
Fellow citizens, near and far, join Newrish Nital on Sugar City 90.3 for Fear No Favor.
Where is one? Where is the answer? And no runner come out for war.
Tune in to 90.3 on your FM dial. Log on to SugarCityFMSankits.com or download Simple Radio app from the Google Play Store. And join Newrish Nital every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. as Newrish Nital tackles the issues and take your call. Fear No Favor. Every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. on Sugar City 90.3 FM.
Jesus. Arise, the country is yours, all yours, still yours. Would you stand up and see your country dying and never lend a helping hand? Would you see your children's future dwindling, creating much disillusion? Or would we watch on idly, disregarding our self-sufficiency?
Good evening, welcome to Fear No Favor. Tonight we are going to have a program with a little variety, and I want to address a social concern that we have. We had some persons who were on the wrong path, and plenty was done to get them on the straight and narrow. They advanced, some became entrepreneurs, some became gainfully employed elsewhere. And I think that the effort that was made was eximious, was excellent. The current administration now would have changed the name from first with the previous administration, it was the peace and then the alternative path, where now for a little bit it remained like that, and then the government is now having something restructured and calling it elevate to get away from the stigma of peace and alternative pathway. To get away from that, the government would have rebranded that program elevate, which I think from a psychological perspective is something good. And it would take more than the government, however, to get those guys who are not yet transformed in a sustainable manner to be transformed, to go through the necessary metamorphosis. It is necessary, it is all of us' duty. Some people prefer to put blame elsewhere other than at themselves. But there are many different pathways to cause someone to go down that broad path. And some of us believe that we are innocent and blame others. We are not. All of us are responsible, from the homes to the church to the schools to the workplace to the private sector to the government. But then government is left with the responsibility to pave that way for guys who are antisocial or not behaving in the best possible manner to make a full 180. And like I would have said before, I always tell the guys that making a cheese 60 is not the correct thing to do. We must make a 180. You go down the road with that sort of antisocial behavior or mindset, and you leave it down the road and you make an about turn and you come right back up. So that would give you an opposite direction to what was going on before. We know where 360 mean to turn your life completely around. But then there are some very smart guys. And if you tell them make 360, they'll tell you that 360 will put you back at the same spot. We want everybody to come on board. There was an unfortunate murder in St. Paul's last evening. And I don't know what sort of heart a patriot could have if you're going to rejoice over the killing of another human being. Regardless of which side of the political fence you may find yourself, it is ridiculous. It is idiosyncratic for you to rejoice over the killing of somebody. Not because you want the murder rate to go up and for the current administration to look bad, which in itself doesn't make any sense to me because there are so many different ramifications that can happen as a result of a murder rate being high. Our main thing is tourism. It is the backbone of our economy. And we have to keep on doing what we have to do to improve our tourism product and also have people gravitating to our shows to have some overs instead of just cruise ship visits. We need some real increases in the over. And to do that, our environment must be conducive to allow that to happen. We cannot pray for a murder rate to go up because the current administration will look bad. It's not the current administration. Governments come and governments go. Administration comes, administrations go. So we have to be mindful. We have to change our mindset. I think that we need to get out of this campaigning mode and just put our efforts into an area to assist the country overall. To assist the country over. Forget about Prime Minister Joe and Deputy Prime Minister Jeffrey Hanley. Forget about that. We should just be seeing St. Kitts. Well, St. Kitts Nevis, but in this case, we should just be seeing St. Kitts and do everything we can, whatever capacity we have, to assist in the overall positive development of St. Kitts. We must do that. We must. Because if we are to pray for failure and look bad, what would happen? What would be left when you take over, or whoever else would take over? Government is continuous, and whatever is left will be passed on to the incoming administration. I think we are more intelligent than that. Even though at times I doubt the literacy rate that is branded in our federation, I think that needs to be reevaluated. Too many things not proving that. So we have to get that they reassessed and make sure that we have a proper one so that we can do more work and help those who really in need of work. It is unfortunate that another young man would have lost his life. And we have to work out. And it starts with each one of us. Go in the mirror and ask yourself, what can I do? Start with I. What can I do to assist in the social aesthetics of my country? What can I do? Start with you. Then you go out to your family members. What can my family do? What can the community do? And if each one of us would do something like that, the improvement would be coming incrementally. Might not come at the rate that we like it, but the rate could be faster than what we are currently experiencing. The improvement. Everybody comes from a home. Even if that person lives alone, they are associates, neighbors, friends, family, community members, some of whom would embrace that person, some of whom have the capacity to assist that individual who might be experiencing certain things. Some of us have the capacity to help someone improve their coping skills. Sometimes people are willing to try, and we have to work with them. How best can we work with them? It's not to say, well, man, if they want to take life, they take life. The last man left standing would be a part of the society, the others gone. It's not like that. When one person is killed, there's a domino effect on the psychological impact, the economic impact, the social impact that it could have on many, many, many others. Eventually, it would result in those same impact that it would have, or the economic impact it can have on our little St. Kitts. We have to try harder. We have to try. And you see, and the problem is when efforts are made to assist these young men and women, there's always criticism that at the nucleus of it, it is degrading to the young men. It is not supportive. How you can give them loan at 3%, 5%, whatever percent, and other persons who are not getting in problems would have to pay 11, 10, 9. We have to try to understand. Equity is a very delicate concept. You have to give people help and provide them with the facility to best utilize the help that we are giving them, the tools they must have. And at times, you would have to be surgically discriminating in order to bring equity on a level playing field. I would have said that many times. And some people would have to work along with the system, trust the process. You might have to pay 10 cents for something, and somebody else would have to pay 7 cents for that same something. Somebody else might have to pay 5 cents for the same quantity of that object or the same quality of a service. That doesn't say that you should start to envy and create issues out of the effort that persons are making in order to bring about equity. At times, even in a democratic country, there would always be surgical discrimination necessary. Many persons indicate that we are becoming a begging society. People's economic situations differ, and we have to try to work with them. We have to try to work with them. And later on in the program, I'm going to address this thing about minimum wage and the attempt that is being made to get the minimum wage increased from 350 to 475, which will represent a 35% increase, and the resistance you're getting and the type of things the persons who do not wish for it to go up like that is offering. They are offering as explanations. But I'll deal with that because we have to be careful. Some of us just concerned about profit and profiteering and racketeering too. The monopolies and the oligopolies. Because we know persons do not have a choice. We talk about in a free market situation, whatever you put out, you put in, you get out, and nobody should try to maximize this and maximize. That is okay. But we are going to come to this minimum wage issue. Because some people are being rather insensitive and technically threatening an entire society that if this takes place, they're going to do whatever they have to do to derail that concept or that whatever suggestion materializing. We are going to listen to Professor Charters about making a bandit factory, meaning the things that you do that can cause or effectuate the actual making of persons carrying out antisocial and criminal activities. You might not be aware of it, but a lot of this happening. And I want you to pay close attention to the lyrical content of this song. This gentleman is a professor. He's a very, very intelligent man. And he takes a lot of pride in writing his socio-political commentary, one of the best calypsonians we have around. And just listen and see if anywhere in that song you could identify yourself, or if something resonates with you, or you could identify persons with whom the song can relate to. And then we'll have a discussion after that. Play the song for me, please.
Where all them bandit come from is a thing all people now asking. They say it's people who come ruling from heaven and heaven. I tell them it's simple. All bandits came from the people. Bandits are born big, my friend. These sport values they have as children. So plenty people here, you know, making bandits and they don't know. Let's count. So you make a baby before your time, little girl. You make one. Your child father hiding from Uncle Sam in the cold. You make one. You and your boyfriend or you leave primary schooling. Standard one. So to do homework you can help your son. Or you make another one. You vex with the teacher cause he gave your boy too lash. You make one. He going to school with blue notes and he can't even spell cash. You make one. You ain't give your two boys a song cut ass for cursing in front of you. So instead of one bandit, you give the nation two. Then you ask, where bandit come from? Ask Kamla, my child. Where bandit come from? Kamla should be tried. Cause she stopped teachers from cutting children backside. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Don't go in there, boy. Don't go in there. Don't go there now. You go back. You go back. Don't go there. Go back. Where all them bandits come from? All them businessmen keep complaining. They say it's people who come deported from Uncle Sam kitchen. I tell them it's simple. All bandits start from the cradle. But when a man is a poor model, bandits just copy example. So plenty people, you must admit, specialize in making bandit. Look here, you is a teacher, but children don't see you on Monday. You make one. You is a teacher, but don't teach, you only studying, play way. You make one. As a parent, you don't take time off to teach the little ones to pray. So the child don't know about the life beyond. All you make another one. You in parliament, but you behaving like a clown. You make one. Wait, my friend, you lie and say the minister have a slush fund. You make one. You put the custom hip-hop man on front page papers to all the clothes and money. Well, for your stupidity, you give the nation tree. Then you say, where bandit come from? Ask the DJ man, where bandit come from? 96.1. Every time you promote Bushu Banton, you make one. Alive? You ain't get licks. You ain't get licks. They're dealing with the devil. Where all them bandits come from? All them politicians keep guessing. They're spending plenty lump sum, but for values the children getting. A child must understand the sanctimonious nature of man. If he only know, good Lord, what's inside one drop of human blood, then that blood he cannot skill, or a human being he can kill. For instance, you is a policeman, but you're specializing in bribe. You make one. You call the radio station and boasting about your tribe. You make one. You is a doctor, but before the patient sit down for an examination, you tell him that your bill is 1,000. Doc, you make another one. You hide your bank book from the Integrity Commission. You make one. The airport money you thief and bank it in Switzerland. You make one. You don't want government to look good, so you throw police reform out the door. Well, for every month you pass that law, you make 4. We bandit come from. Ask them lawyer who cheating people from over. For a case when you charge them 10,000, you make 1. Alive? Another one. Over make him. A lawyer make him. Where all them bandits come from? All them journalists here keep asking. Yet they wouldn't tell Punch and Bomb that their sex page have the youths rotting. You see, friends, the media, some are irresponsible here. Instead of teaching cleanliness, thrift, chastity, and good health, they're making the youths obsessed with sex and material wealth. For instance, you put cocaine inside the bash, water tank can run. You make one. With all corruption, the youth see you making millions. You make one. The papers have female calypsonians, in a bird position. With man whining on them singers, bam bam. All you make another one. You is a judge freeing murderers all over the tongue. You make one. Now reaction when you cuss man, oh haram saran. You make one. You is a police or a soldier, and you thief in ammunition, and then selling the bandits bullets live. You make 5. We bandits come from. Tell you the cut I say. Where you want poor people, children to play. If you give Mr. Manning president grounds, you will make one. All right? We must break down the factory. All of we must break down the factory. We have to save the youth from the factory, son. Don't ever try to go back inside it. Okay? Good.
Okay, welcome back to Fear in Our Favor, and a very classical calypso. Charters would have touched on every sector in our society and indicate that they are responsible for a lot of antisocial behavior and criminal activities. They might not have been aware, but I think that that song would have opened up their minds. And if they have a conscience, they can start to make some adjustments that would tend to assist the country overall, from the home to the school, the politicians to the police to the defense force, the whole entire circumference, and all the angles you can think of, all the sectors, they were mentioned in that song. And we have to be careful. We have to make a concerted effort to be aware that we are creating social issues by the things that we do, the decisions that we make. A country is supposed to have thinkers and doers. People think, you have a think tank, you have a cadre of people who can carry out the activities. Sometimes you might find the same attributes within a selected few they can think and do. And that is where we have to start heading. Now, let us look at the minimum wage issue, because some people taking it lightly. If the government, if and only if it is true that the government is trying to increase the minimum wage to $475 weekly from 350, I think that that is highly reasonable, and should be supported as much as possible. But you see, the question is, we have some nebulous areas that we need to put into distinct shades of black and white. The minimum wage is an hourly wage rate, I assume. If it is an hourly rate, we have to be careful, because you could say, well, pay people this amount per hour, but then the employers them can reduce the hours of the employees in order to keep the wage bill constantly low. Very unfortunate. If it is a weekly minimum wage, meaning that you must pay somebody 475 at least a week. 475, that's about 950, that's about $1,900. So you're saying that persons should be taking home at least $1,900. That cannot be a lot. Not taking into account cost of living, a lot of it, over which government has no control. Most of it is imported, but over a period of time, that can be rectified and mitigated. But we have to understand if the minimum wage is for weekly paid workers and they must carry home $475 a week, but of course, you have your deductions. They must earn in a gross fashion $475 a week, 950 every 2 weeks, and of course 1900 a month. We have to try to work with that because minimum wage cannot just apply to the hourly rate. Minimum wage cannot just merely apply to the hourly rate. If I had my way and was the supreme person to decide on minimum wage, it would have been coupled with hours. You set a minimum wage per hour, and you also set a minimum number of hours that person's supposed to work. You can't come cut hours because the rate per hour gone up. You're sabotaging the government's efforts, and a society cannot be built that way. When you hear some of the reasons or excuses that persons are making to say if the salary, the minimum wage goes up to 475 a week, many of the small businesses, I don't even know, they like to push the small businesses into the conversation. They don't talk about small businesses all the time. There are certain businesses, not small businesses, those big businesses, who feel that their wage bill would have to go up. So don't let them talk about you can push small businesses out of business. The effort is not really down there. It is up there by the big guys them who making the millions. So because you have to pay them 475, you are threatening to let off workers. I mean, that is the height of ingratitude. Why would you want to let off workers? These are the same workers who help you to build your economic empire, your financial empire. But you're ready to let them off because you're making $100 profit a week and you just had to go down to $96. $96, 4% decrease. Or maybe not even so much, maybe just about $98. But you have a problem with that because your profit must not be touched. The only movement your profit must make is up, 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 up. If your profit going up, 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 and you don't care about the workers so much, that is profiteering. You're not playing your role as a civic minded person. What if you just decrease your profit by a bit to facilitate those way down? We have a tendency of, I don't know if it's theoretically putting down middle class, lower class, upper class, and middle class. Just that very stratification of human beings would suggest that you're not sensitive enough to be dealing with individual human beings. Lower class. Who the hell is lower class? Who is lower class? Why do you want to stratify people as being lower class? But the reality is that, you have a very wide gap between the have and the have nots. And even down there, you can still go down further. You have people who are poor, some who are very poor, some who are destitute. So the last class you all use like to create, that can be subdivided into many others shatter. So what happened to them? They must not have a living. They must just merely exist. That can't be right. People must just merely exist while you do your racketeering and profiteering and make sufficient money in abundance for your current generation of family, your next generation, your next generation, your next generation, and the damn well next generation. We are selfish. You want to secure generations after generations and your own family. And other people's family must just barely be surviving. You can't even call that surviving, existing, merely existing. Because here's the government trying to, the government can't employ everybody. Government asking of you, walk along with us. Let us give the people $475 a week. Take out the obligated deductions and let them take home more. And we're finding all kind of silly excuses. Silly excuses. A lot of these people working like that for years. Years upon years. And your profit going up and up and up. And that's all you want to do. Anything concerning the poor, a lot of people seem as if they get heart attack, bad feeling to see that the conditions of the poor and destitute is being improved. They can't stand it. How could you not stand another human being being uplifted? The quality of life, the living standard. Why is that a problem for you? I believe we need to carry out some evaluations, psychiatric evaluations, because only psychopaths behave like that. The part of the brain that is responsible for empathy, it is underdeveloped in those people. Anybody who would have those attributes, have that mindset, that don't care attitude, that insensitiveness, you can't be a normal human being. You cannot be a normal human being. Or they say sometimes a bad habit is like a soft and comfortable bed, easy to get into and hard to get out of. And that's a fact. Some people living in St. Kitts, making a fortune in St. Kitts, would have built empires, financial empires, economic empires, out of the patronage of Kittitians, but they don't like Kittitians. They don't really like Kittitians. They might put on a show, try to create an impression, but deep down inside, deep in the veins, they do not really like Kittitians. You can't like Kittitians and you're fighting 475 a week to go home with. But maybe the good Lord, that supreme being of which nothing greater can be perceived, should have had the strength and behave like man for a while and let the position then be interchanged. Let the position then be interchanged. Let the poor go over there for about a year, which come over. You see, if you can see tears come out, their eyes, blood they gonna ball. Blood. They cannot live a poor man's life. They cannot live a poor man's life. And they have a problem. Certain people must remain where they are. If a poor man able to buy a tricycle, they must buy a bicycle. Poor man able to buy a little reconditioned vehicle, they must buy something real extravagant to keep the distinction, the differential as wide as possible. How you want to have this great differential between you and the poor and the destitute, but then still depending on them for your recreation, your entertainment, and the structuring of your empire. You want to depend on them, but you prefer not to see them in a healthy and improved condition. Where is your conscience? But let off. You let off workers because you got to pay out a little bit more out of your profit. Eh? $2 out of your millions more. $2. And in the whole domino effect, you can be producing as a result of your foolish resistance could have a real adverse impact on the overall society. You really feel with all this movement upwards and salary and wages stagnant, that people mindset would be the same. For some, it's going to be survival of the fittest. People going to do whatever they got to do to survive. You eating your 5 Pentagon meals a day. Poor people has long stopped eating 4 square meals. Some of them eating 3. Some of them ain't even got a 3-sided figure to parallel the eating to. Some of them only got 2 lines. All the angle they could find where they meet. You don't have any enclosed structure. Some poor people could only form an angle. They're not even a third side to make that triangle. Well, you might be surprised. Some people live in the 180 degrees, just one line. Don't even have a second line to meet. But luckily, on that one line, you have 180 degrees. But to form anything other than 180 degrees, they don't have the means. How could we not be there for these people? How could we not be there for them? And then when the crime rate goes up, everybody start to panic. But they don't realize that they were paving the way for things like that to happen over a period of time. It just doesn't happen like that. Sometimes you talk to people and they're trying their best to stay on the straight and narrow. You got 3, 4 children. Children eating maybe twice a day. No books, no shoes, no clothes. And you expect that breadwinner to just study and absorb this. A man could only take that much and no more. That's why this song says, a bandit factory. We are manufacturing bandits. But some of us are superficial in our thinking. We need to go oil deep. We got to think deeper than that. What would be the ramification of us behaving like that and resisting movement, upward movement in the minimum wage? What could be the possible impact? But some of us don't care. Some of us don't care. But that cannot be the attitude Because if you don't care and the crime rate goes up and the country gets a bad name, who foreign investor would want to come here to invest in a country that is socio-economically unstable? We're not thinking. And some of us, I mean, like I said, some of them are psychopath. The part of the brain responsible for empathy is either not present or grossly underdeveloped. If you can see down the road what your action would cause, you got to be a psychopath. You got to be very shallow minded and selfish, very, very selfish. You want to attend the same church with these people. Lovely singing, lovely congregation. Church filled with people. Some people struggle to put in a penny inside of the collection plate in church. And some pastors behave in such a way, man. Don't bring less than $500. Don't do this. Don't do that. And a bandit you producing. So you don't care if that person has nothing to cook for the family after giving you that. But we got to come better than that. We have to come better than that. Unless we just take one big roof, 68 square miles, try it over. Just call us the real society. Call it one big psychiatric ward. How people can be like that? So much resistance to help our poor people. And you have a ton load of poor people. Those are the same people who would vote during the elections. So then you, the rich people, get your favored politicians in power. Because it is your expectation that after you done give donation and contribution for campaign or whatever else, that blind eyes are cast upon you. Just do what you want. But some set of politicians got to take the bull by the horn and tell these donors who expect a lot of things in return, no thank you. Can't continue along that path all the time. They cannot be holding the country at no ransom. Then when the crime rates start to go up and up, I heard the police I'm on the program. Yes, homicide is going up. Stealing going up too. But everything else going down. So then how do we deal with what's going up? A lot of it is economics. A lot of it. And people who do not have the skills to deal with economic challenges. They're looking a shortcut. They can't put a proper plan together. They don't have much patience. At the center of a lot of our antisocial activities and criminal activities. Economics. Don't anybody blame nothing on the gang members and the gentlemen them who were once warring. Economics. Look after the economics. Get some equity distributed amongst our population in terms of economics. And you will see that it is inversely proportional to antisocial and criminal activities. That there goes up, antisocial and criminal activities, almost 100% certain, would come down. Yes, you have certain things that would happen outside of that realm, but those are just statistical outliers. They're not the norm. Look after the economics. And crime rate would go down considerably. And the social behavior will go down considerably. We can do much better than that. We're going through some challenges, yes. And it's not all the time we're going to take them challenges and pretend that the root came about as a result of COVID, you know. Lord, we got to give COVID a chance. We have ample time to do a lot of things. Yes, COVID might be responsible for certain things, but we would have learned too. And as a result of that, we should go through the necessary improvement. I don't know what the rate determining step would be in terms of going through that improvement, but we got to find these sources and utilize them. Challenging times. Challenging times call for the best of minds. Loyalty ain't got a thing to do with putting your best foot forward in addressing problems. A man could be loyal like hell to me and can assist me in moving a centimeter forward. What I'm going to do, engage him to tie up the whole process? No. And some of us would have to have conscience as well. If we know that we were asked to do something, and you know that there are many persons who can do it 50 times or 100 times better than you, let your conscience be exercised. Inform of those persons. And then you could find something else to do. We have some challenges, just like all over the world. And I realize too that some persons are forcing the issue. They want a time frame when the water problem would be solved. I don't know what is meant by the water problem solved. Water problem cannot be totally arrested. The degree of the challenges we're having with the water could decrease, it could vary depending on whatever measures are taken. But I wouldn't promise anybody, if I'm a politician, that the water problem would be solved because I don't know what solved means. You could say the supply of water could be ameliorated. It would improve if you're getting water for 1 hour per day. To ameliorate that means that you could get it for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. But there would be a time when the pressure could be extremely low. There would be a time when we need to let the pressure build back up with more water and more water. But it will take time. so that cannot be arrested. We have some climatic conditions that are causing less rain to fall. Let us be realistic. Forget about Dr. Joe and Jeffrey Martin and whoever else, Congress Maynard. Put that aside. Let us just look at the reality of the situation we have. Rain would have to come. Yes, rain would have to come. Whether we have catchments or the water is going to percolate downwards through the soil and eventually reach some kind of aquifer or something like that, or be trapped between on top of rocks, or you might have the fresh water floating on top of salt water. Rain would have to come. And even though you might get a good week or 2 weeks of rain, that doesn't say that the water situation would improve drastically. It takes a period of time for that water to go down and be a part of the system. I don't know about the catchments. I have not done much investigation with respect to the catchment areas and how much we're getting from there. No, Wingfield would have one and everything else. And there was a time when maybe 67% of the water came from catchment and a mere 33% came from well water. But I think that has been reversed now, maybe reversed and improved, where 70% is now coming from the wells and 30% coming from catchment. So rain would have to come. The water would have to be trapped either by catchment, or we'll have to have patience in it percolating the soil and creating a well field where you can dig and drill for water and successfully get that water. Now, even if you have that situation, there is still an upper limit of water that you can draw from a well that was drilled, especially if that fresh water is sitting on salt water. Because if you take off too much, you call it the safe yield. The yield that you can take off fresh water from that salt water. If you take off too much and you have intrusion of salt water, meaning they just mix up together. And that situation, I don't know if it could ever be reversed or reversed in reasonable number of years. But once that happened, once you had that intrusion, you will have to have a situation where maybe a lot of water come, a lot of rain come and a lot of water go back down, and the fresh set of water now will start to float. But you see the problem with that. Because you had saltwater intrusion, you might not be able to put down a well in that same area again. Because of the density and all sort of complexities that would be involved. It might not be wise to put down a well. You have to move. That is why they have something called a well field. You move across, you move in this area, and you try your luck as much as possible. But digging wells, drilling wells always have their problems. It depends on the type of soil sometimes, because the soil there might not be very friendly to human beings after the consumption. The contamination that would have come from the soil content might not be safe for us to consume. I think that might have been the case up at Chadwell. Sometimes, as much as you have contamination, they might try their best to remove as much as possible. And they might not remove all, but they are saying that whatever you might take in a certain quantity of water is safe to use. Some people wouldn't like to hear that. They prefer that you don't take in anything at all. If it is poisonous in a certain concentration, you prefer not to take in, even in the diluted form. So it could be very challenging, very, very challenging in trying to produce water from wells over a particular area of well field. Can be challenging. Sometimes you have rocks. You have rocks that will give off gases. Some of the gases might be carcinogenic, cause cancer. So you have to be careful where you're drilling wells. You have to do your soil profile analysis and understand what is going on. And you have to be honest as well, because you have to make sure that even though you find a large quantity of water, what is the quality of water you're willing to give your citizens to consume? If it is not readily potable, you got to work out measures that you can bring it to safe usage. It would take time. It would take time. As a matter of fact, I understand that there's this bead company. You know, this big company would have been around for a long time. I don't know the success story. Somebody would have to come and enlighten us about this success story of this bid, because they were over in Nevis as well. I don't know if the government chose them because already they had equipment around and it would be easier to re-contract them because they have equipment already there to use. It will be cheaper than to try to source another company to come in with the different equipment and whatever, because I don't believe the equipment belong to government. And cheaper, better, easier, less headache to bring in a new company. But we have been hearing about BEAD for so long, and I do not know the success story. I really think that these people who in BEAD company, the authorities, the pertinent stakeholders, should be in a public meeting with citizens and let people ask them questions. Because I really do not know the success story of these people. You would have heard all sort of different stories. After all, it's not much you're doing where you could just add and find the average. These are discussions, different stories. Different people tell you different stories. What is the reality? And when they are coming as well, we need it to be documented, that when they're giving their story and want to add success to it or failure to whatever degree, we have something to reconcile what they are saying. You just can't come and talk to us. We need information we need the statistics. We need the statistics so we can do our comparative analysis to see whether or not you're really competent of producing what we need to produce. If you were to ask me, with the pattern of rainfall that we're now having, with the reduced faith that we have in this big company, for whatever reason, the uncertainty, until that nebulous area, that gray area, can be put into distinct shades of black and white and better explain to the people of St. Kitts what are the prospects of getting water in a sustainable way. I would have to bypass that. I would have to bypass that. I'll prefer to lean on the side of desalination. I am not impressed with any bead story unless I can be made wiser. Then, for the time being, I would have to pass on that bead trust. Now, desalination, the water is there. We don't have to wait on the water to come and percolate down and then dig the wells or put them in catchment. We're very much at the mercy of climatic conditions. The seawater is there. but it is not so straightforward. Let us be realistic. Let us take our time. Let us slow down and examine what's going on. Because people really expecting the government to fix this thing tomorrow. When I think that the facts would have to be given to persons, even though as a politician and a representative, your thing is to lift the hopes and the spirit of the people. Yes, there must be light at the end of the tunnel, but it must not be the light of a train that is out of control. Must be realistic. It's not every light at the end of the tunnel would be good, because, like I said, it could be the light of a train that is out of control. Now we have desalination. Desalination uses a lot of electricity. Already we have issues around here with the sources of electricity. We have problems, we have challenges. Too many burden would have been placed on the supply of electricity. We know that. We have a lot of development taking place. A lot. You can't build a house and then put in any electricity. You can't build hotels, restaurants, whatever you're building and not put in electricity. So the demand for electricity, just like the demand for water, going up and up and up. And the base is not getting any wider. Whatever we have, we have. The cake is already baked. The pie is already prepared. And the most could happen, or the best thing could happen, is that certain persons will have to get a smaller portion of the pie. Smaller portion of the pie might not be sufficient to keep devices, activities going on a regular enough basis. So some people would have to encounter challenges because we have to work at the base. Now, if the electricity is an issue, but our best hope is desalination, then we must find a way to simultaneously develop desalination plants, and we must have a source of electricity that would simultaneously complement the desalination effort. I don't believe that the electricity that we have right now could be sent down to a desalination plant to produce water in a sustainable manner without interfering with the electricity on land area, so to speak. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough call. So therefore, solar energy, I don't know if a wind farm can be placed somewhere close to the desalination plant. But solar energy seemed to be the one that would have to accompany the desalination plant. They got to go hand in hand. It's a marriage. Can't get desalination plant without electricity. And the electricity we have cannot be redirected to buy the desalination plant. So while we're developing desalination plants, we have to have that marriage, desalination plant and solar energy, unless we're not going anywhere in a hurry. As a matter of fact, there are some speed bumps. We have to slow down, really have the technical guys them to come out in consultation with the representatives and tell us a little bit more. Yes, you're going to send them because people voted for them and they're responsible to go to the people. But you can come as well and have a conversation. Nobody has a monopoly on knowledge, suggestions, and something that you might not have thought about might be very feasible, might be brought up by somebody we had no intention of getting that from. So it is great that we're trying to look after. I can't say arrest. Arrest is a very strong word. Arrest means to solve and to solve forever. I don't see that happening right now. That water issue that you see people complaining about on social media, we have to start thinking about what can be done in the interim. And the people would have to know that that is in the interim. Because if we have a desalination plant over at Frigate Bay, I think an effort can be made to, I don't know what volume that desalination plant can really produce, but take as many persons as possible off the government lines, put them to get feed from the desalination plant. Not just some. If the capacity is there, max out on the capacity. Max out. Help the company over there to install some solar panels, max out on the capacity, and see how many persons could come off the government line and then have those water redirected to other places where the desalination plant water cannot reach. It's all about being gravity fed as well. Take it to a particular altitude and then it comes down. But sometimes it's to get it to that particular altitude. You have submersible pumps and everything that can get things to an area that you would like to get it and then get it coming down, feed down. It is a challenge. And nobody should provide any artificial comfort for persons who are going through the challenges. Don't tell me the bread bus can come around twice a week. When we know that the bakery can't even supply bread for once a week. Let me know you're going to come once. So when I buy my bread once, I know how to ration it out in the house. Because if you build my hopes of this bread bus coming around twice, I might poorly ration what I have the first time around in anticipation that it will be coming a second time around. And then when all would have been finished, then nothing comes the second time. So I have to still wait on the next time equivalent to the first time that the bus is coming around. And then what happened? Everything would be in disarray. You just got to be brave. Got to be honest. We're having challenging times. A lot of it is beyond us when it comes to the water. Can't water problem going back for years. And we continue to pray that the situation would improve. At a very tender age, I lived in an estate house in Keon. Very, very tender age. As the estate manager. I have never seen water come from that pipe. Every day, a tractor would bring a big tank, pack it up in the yard, and I would have to bail water from the tank inside of the house. Luckily, my parents were alive and they lived at Tabernacle at the time. And I used to drive the Jeep go down. I really wanted a shower from the pipe. I had to go there. And I still got to do my dipping up and dipping up and dipping up. Years now, and that was way, way back. So administration after administration after administration would have gone through those same challenges. However, it is my opinion that if each successive administration would have maximized what they could have done, the water situation in Keyon could have been a little better off. But you had a void in terms of practicality of bringing water, taking water to the pipes of the Keyon household. You had a void. No, a current administration just cannot fill that void overnight. And like I said, if it was incrementally done with the most concerted of all efforts, it would have just been like a relay. Okay, we have taken it here. We could get some water to people in Whites, some water to people in Spooners, some water to people down Shantytown, Upper Keyon, Lovers Lane area. We could have just been adding on, adding on, adding on. In this day and age, modern technology, with the amount of advancement we would have had, despite the water, the rain challenges, Keyon could have been in a much better position. And I really would like to get some documents and read what this bead company would have done thus far. What was the situation over at Nevis with the same bead company or whoever? Let us get an area that we can go, a site that we can go to see what would have taken place. Because if you want to raise people hope, we have to have confidence and trust in the persons to whom the project is given. Some people could be passing these people doing their work, and the impression they have of them might not be a great one. So psychologically, you're impacting. But if you know of great jobs that they would have done and in a particular time frame, and you discuss that with the general public, some way to read that, people's mindset could be different. And I'm appealing to administration, the authority, the pertinent stakeholders, provide information. Because to some people, they've been hearing about being for a very long time. And if they've been around for a very long time, and we're still having this water issue, well, if they were part of, I, I want they're part of the problem, or if they were part of the group that could not find solution to the problem, what has taken place so drastically that we can have a turnaround and they're actually helping now to materialize solutions from the problem that they've been trying to deal with for so long. We need something on table, man. We need some statistics. We need some reports to read. Things not supposed to be getting worse. even if you do not get the rain, but I mean, they could dig and drill and drill and drill. If nothing there, nothing there. If nothing there, nothing is there. We might get lucky. We might be digging for water and then we go way below the thing and find oil. But we need to be guided. People's mind would have to be at ease. Just don't hold on to people for holding on to them sake. Sometimes you have to spend hundreds of thousands. Sometimes you just have to done away with certain investment. Start afresh. Start afresh. You have an engine giving you problem. You done rebuild the engine, do this again, you problem. The car external look great. The interior looks great. But the key thing at the nucleus of pushing the car is the engine. And then we said that we're building. You have to discard that engine and get a new brand engine. I don't know if it's someplace I can go to get better information. But we shall see. Let us take a break. Come back.
Fellow citizens, near and far, join Newrish Nital on Sugar Soda 90.3 for Fear No Favor.
Where is one? Where is the cancer man? No runner come out for war.
Tune in to 90.3 on your FM dial. Log on to SugarCityFMSankits.com or download Simple Radio app from the Google Play Store. And join Newrish Nital every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. as Newrish Nital tackles the issues and take your call. Fear No Favor every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. on Sugar City 90.3 FM. Fellow citizens, near and far, join Newrish Nital on Sugar City 90.3 for Fear No Favor.
Where is one? Where is the cancer man? No runner come out for war.
Tune in to 90.3 on your FM dial. Log on to SugarCityFMSankits.com or download Simple Radio app from the Google Play Store. And join Newrish Nital every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. as Newrish Nital tackles the issues and take your call. Fear No Favor every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. on Sugar City 90.3 FM.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Fear No Favor. Yes. Okay, we're back on chat now. I saw some readings indicating that certain areas, certain countries would have to be getting visas to go to England or the UK. I see a projection as to when different countries might be impacted. I think of the places in the region that would be impacted first. I think is Dominica. I think I read that it was in relation to the CBI program and maybe the granting of citizenship to questionable individuals who can threaten the security of the UK. But if that is the case, why is this projection being made as to the other countries who might eventually need to get visas to travel to the UK? Why the other countries, if Dominica would have done something with the CBI program to present a situation of clouds, what have we done? So I don't know. I think that somebody would have to come out and adjust that a little bit more. You know, something you said mustn't overly anticipate problems. But if there's something was mentioned in the pipeline, say something. Give us the reassurance that look, this not coming our way. X, Y, Z. People are speculating, but at least, if and only if it happened to us, somebody could have been bringing us up to date accordingly. But let us hope that is not the case. Elimat did sing a song about his joke they're making. They say England is lying flat on its back. Still they want us to hold up the Union Jack. And that we still need a visit to go to England. It's rather unfortunate. They're not talking about reparation, but they're talking about reintroducing the need for us to get visas to travel to the UK. These people bold-faced, boy. But as usual, we have all kind of unions, organizations, and things within the region. But sometimes, yes, we benefit quite a lot. But sometimes when the big fights come up, the big fights, we don't produce that energy. It is not manifested at all. The lady there from Barbados, she's trying her utmost best. Maybe we needed about 2 or 3 like her when the big fights them come up to do what we had to do. Our PM said what he had to say to King King the Third or King Charles the Third. Some persons were not happy. But these are things that we have to start doing collectively as a region. Individuals voicing their displeasures or their intentions wouldn't go too far. Because King George seems if he doesn't have a lot of patience. There was a situation with he and President Biden. Biden was trying to maybe talk to the soldiers them or the military fellas as they lined up and he passed, and he was trying to basically hurry up, out of order. Come on, let's move on. No, you can't do that, man. You have to have a little more patience. If you find that your age doesn't permit you to be as nice as you ought to be to other people, if you learn energy, well, just say somebody else come and take over. But I think that was rather distasteful. And that is why the region would have to start doing whatever it has to do in a collective way so that the voices can be better heard. We have to. But before we can move on as a region, we have to sort out things locally. Yeah, we have to sort out things locally because there were some things going around and it was eventually being it was eventually labeled manufactured political propaganda. God, a year ain't gone. 5 years to go. 4 more years to go. Let us all concentrate our efforts into seeing what we can do for the country. Instead of creating uneasiness. You see, all those kind of political ploys, they can't serve us any good right now. They wouldn't serve us any good right now. I agree that the politicians, them, and the agents or whoever not in favor of this administration would try most and many things to give the voters them a particular impression. I personally don't believe this is time for that. I believe that we should do what we got to do to keep our country with a certain level or degree of buoyancy. There are too many challenges out there, too many challenges for us to start an internal war amongst the people in our little federation. We can do better than that. We are intelligent people. But some people get gratification from doing certain things. And if you're going to fabricate and get a whole population uneasy and cause them to develop particular mindsets when they should be channeling the energy to be most productive, contribute the best they can to the gross domestic product, I think that the distraction is not needed. Yes, it's just a year, 2.5 years going on 3, then you come up, take your notes, hold on your notes, give people a chance to put ideas together and then flesh out and materialize whatever they have on paper or discuss in cabinet or whatever. But to create an atmosphere, a calculated effort to do that, man, the energy could have been better served, man. It is ridiculous. I'm not supporting anything like that. I am not supporting anything with any fabrication to create uneasiness within the populace. I'm not going to be a part of that. And I would always see it in bad taste. We got better things to do. Better things to do. And if you're using agents to do those sort of stuff, we should stop it. There will come a time when you have a concentration of those things. But the country going through so many challenges. The individuals at their own level, they're experiencing a lot of things as well. You cannot take things collectively because you feel you can benefit from it and put it out there to impact individual lives. Each individual would have his or her own challenges, many different challenges. So to pull them into a collective bond and say, let us say this, let us feed them that can't help. That can't help. Very, very distasteful in my opinion. We can do better than that. Each individual has his or her own problems. Direct them to who they can go to for help. Exhaust the various avenues and pathways before you could pull them, before making such an effort. You pull them into a corner and fabricate and giving them some kind of mindset you want them to establish. That can't make any sense, man. But I find strange, and I'm not going to cut any corners of this. You had PLP, you had Labour, you had CCM, you had NRP, and you had PAM contesting an election. All of them had their specific supporters. Their specific supporters. People rallied, people made sacrifices, people took risk because you know the culture of politics in our federation. Sometimes if you're seen out there, or you're being heard saying certain things to pull down the current administration, you got to start looking over your back and you live in suspense as to what they're going to do. People experience all those unstable conditions for quite a while. Now, the Labour administration, saying it's never Labour Party, they won the election, they had the administration in power. They had their supporters. They might have even conquered a few supporters from PAM and PLP as well. So they are basically being looked after to a certain degree. You always have a preference scale. As much as politicians might not want to admit this, there are certain individuals and groups that would have to be more highly prioritized than others. And you would always have competition for certain position and competition for certain favors. But everybody cannot be chosen. A lot might not be the preferred. Now, when those same people, supporters, who were not, did not fall in favor of the current administration, whether inevitably, inadvertently, calculatedly, it doesn't matter. You have these supporters over here, some for PLP, some for PAM, some for NRP, some for CCM. Some of those persons need a lot of help. So you want to tell me that despite not winning an election, there's absolutely no help at all can come from a party that lost an election to the supporters who rallied behind them so much? That can't make sense. Absolutely nothing. You have a party. You have an account. You have financial standings. And you want to tell me. And to be honest, too, most of those guys who are in politics are millionaires. Most of them, if they're not millionaires, they're close to being millionaires. And you're telling me that, for example, you had the PAP program. The current administration might have felt that, look, this PAP program was not perfect. There were several imperfections that they need to get some time, think over, and have it restructured properly. Because, of course, you might have had some persons on the PAP program who ought not to have been there. You had some who really needed to be there. Now, because of the restructuring, some who really needed to be there might not be there right now because the structuring is still in place. Now, if those who really needed to be there are not there as yet, when you were there as a government, you knew the needs of these people and they were there. So they're not there now. What should stop you from trying to give some of those persons even $200, $250, since they're not in a position to get the $500. What would stop you? Your supporters. You calculated that they needed to be there. That is why they were there, despite the fact that you had some there who ought not to have been there. Let us look at those who were destitute and really needed to be there. Some of them have not made it there as yet. So what are they supposed to do? They're supposed to wait until, yes, and wait until the present administration really see the need for them to be added on, or maybe start up other programs to assist them in other ways. But what are you doing as party members to look out for supporters who are not currently on the PAP program? Nobody can tell me, well, me ain't getting no money, me ain't in government, me ain't in power, me ain't in this. I can't buy that. You have a party, a structured party. There must have been some income and expenditure accounts. You must have eventually gone on to your balance sheet. There must be something in reserve. No political party has zero balance on its financial statement. Maybe you want to be very careful and husband your resources as best as possible. But you can't tell me, even in spite of your best effort to best husband your scarce resources, that you cannot find even $250 to give several persons who are not yet reinstated in the PAP program. This is how I measure politicians. So what they're supposed to do, what they're supposed to eat, whatever they were doing, they were supposed to get medication. They were supposed to be assisted in paying bills, whatever. So you don't see the need to even help out some of those persons, whether PLP or PAM people who are on the PAP program and who were not able to make it back on. You want to tell me PLP doesn't have a statement of affairs, a balance sheet? PAM doesn't have a balance sheet to look out for some of these people? Man, to me, that is how you judge politicians. That is how you judge politicians. So you're telling me that wait until 5 years, 4 years, 4.5, come out and campaign with me, put in your all, help me get back in power, and then you can get something to eat and drink. So what they must do, you must comatose them until 2027, close to 2027, for them to come out and push energy in your direction. So what they're supposed to do in the interim? And please don't come with we ain't got any money. The parties, them, they have a balance sheet. Use the reserve, whatever you have, you cash whatever you have, and help out some of the people. If you can't do that, I don't believe that no supporter should remain loyal to any political party who cannot, to some extent, help others. Cannot. Politics is such that it's like a little cycle. You look after your people a little bit more than the others who don't support you. And obviously, when the other administration goes in it to do something similar, an additional amount might come over and be helped. Because if you're carrying government, you got to look out for as many persons as possible. But sometimes still, many persons are left out. So who's going to pick up that slack? At the same persons you want come with the same level of energy to assist. You want to tell me the interim of the first year to 4.5 years in, no time at all could you dish out a little help to these people? I don't understand that. What kind of loyalty that would be? Too many people laughing after people. People laughing after people. And any politician who are in office in St. Kitts and they're not millionaires, they're close to being millionaires. They have money put aside. If you love people, help them. Help. Sometimes not in a damn telephone call to ask how you doing. Cost of living kind of high, how you managing. And I have to buy bread for the children. You know, do something. Help. You want people to remain loyal and you couldn't care if they survive in the interim between now and 2027. That is the target point. That is the real target point, the legal target point. I mean, things would happen. Maybe some of you praying that an election can be held before 2027. But that is wishful thinking. The reality is election is scheduled for 2027. So we have to treat our supporters as if that is the ultimate date. I come hold on, there might be election in December. Hold on, there might be election in 2024. Hold on, they got confusion and be election in 2025. And hold on, things and get worse and deteriorate election in 2020. I mean, what is that? What are supposed to do? Full somebody belly? Have them properly nourished? Or better nourished? Man, do what we have to do to help people, man. Do what you have to do to help people. We got to come better than that. Supporters deserve plenty better than that. Plenty. You don't let them suffer so that they get this mindset that this suffering they're going through is because of Joe and his administration. Can't be that. We make it even more hypocritical that if you know these people going through this suffering as a result of Joe administration and you do absolutely nothing to assist them, well, you shouldn't be able to come back to them to ask them to vote for you. I'm not saying you could help everybody, but you must have a list. All of us got a list. We know who are there for us. We put people outside a polling station. When Mr. X goes in and he casts his vote, he comes out, he look at you in a kind of way, your ticket, that's one of us. That was a vote for us. But you got the same list. Go look for the people. Help those who really in need of help. Develop a preference scale. You have 100 people and you start out number one. This one got to be helped. Second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one. Even if you only reach them by 10, good Lord, man, do something to help the people. By the time you reach them by 50 or 60 or 70, even if you only reach 10, do something to help 10 people. We have to come better than this. And those people who want to exhibit blind loyalty while they suffer, you're humiliating yourself. Come on and do something, man. Let us take a break and come back.
Fellow citizens, near and far, join Newrish Nital on Sugar Soda 90.3 for Fear No Favor.
Where is man? Where is the cancer man? No runner come out for war.
Tune in to 90.3 on your FM dial. Log on to SugarCityFMSinkits.com or download Simple Radio app from the Google Play Store. And join Newrish Nital every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. as Newrish Nital tackles the issues and take your call. Fear no favor. Every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. on Sugar City 90.3 FM.
Welcome back to Fear and Our Favor. And earlier I spoke about those people who have it and they have issues with the poor and destitute conditions being ameliorated. It is actually a sort of disease for the rich and they have to really deal with improvement that the poor and destitute would experience. They can't deal with that. Present quite a problem. They're very uneasy, disturbed, blood pressure going up and down, up and down. They become unstable, hypertensive. They take on too much problem because they cannot stand. Like I said, they don't really like poor people. They work with them because they have to use them to build the empire, but they don't really like. They suffer from a kind of disease that I think Sparrow called neurosis of the rich. And I want you to give this song a listen. Play it for me, please.
Contrary to yesterday, when wealth was a social law, the official concern today revolves around the poor. The sexual fancies and wild emotions, unemployment, education, ethnic composition have now become interesting studies of exhaustive attention. While the rich become jealous, cannot live with this rejection. They would like to be the object of concern, but idleness has no value of its own. Their methodology of conspicuous consumption and waste. Display of diamonds and rubies is now commonplace. For the theory today is that wealth in its sphere is the source of destruction, frustration, and fear. For the wealthy, life is built on despair. Once upon a time, people only had to know that you had more than just a dime to make of you a hero. But now that present scholars and great professors, academic educators, religious advisors occupy all their time working on some Save the Poor project, the rich ignore, become a sad victim of neglect. They have got so much, yet to find companionship every month. They would take a pleasure trip to gamble away sums of money on roulette and dice, coasting and toasting and boasting to be recognized. Knowing deep down inside they are faced with extinction, for wealth in itself is no sort of distinction. They exist in a state of disillusion. It is sad when a high-class broad ravaged by gross ill health. Throw she pride overboard, then combining her rank and wealth with obesity, swollen, tortured face, advanced nymphomania and repellent grace. Pay out large sums of money trying to procure some loving, but love is a thing just cannot be purchased. They will flock to bars, luncheons and parties, flashing cars and counting calories in an effort to create an aspect of great importance. Flaunting their wealth and their rank to gain acceptance. Yet that feeling of guilt from deliberate mistakes, night after night, keep them ever awake. Money heartaches are too much for them to take.
Welcome back. And that song is a very important song, and it speaks to what I said earlier. There is always some degree of discomfort whenever the rich and the have realize that the condition of the poor is being paid some attention. You heard it? Poor project, poor man project. What can we do to improve that? Professors, educators, all pertinent stakeholders are now focusing on the poor to see how best they can assist. Because life cannot continue like that. If you do not look after those persons who are economically disadvantaged, society shall not be a haven for anybody. And we got to take a cue. Help. I don't believe in the upper class, middle class, and they're not middle class anything. You have the rich and you have the poor and destitute under there. There is no middle class anyway. And we have to become more equitable in our dealings. We have to stop resisting efforts to improve poor people's lives. Unless we would be very uncomfortable, whether from a physical perspective or from a psychological perspective. People work hard for what they want. But a lot of us must have a conscience and realize that it's poor people who help to build a lot of these financial empires. And at least, man, it is time to give back something to them. And if you don't want to do it directly, to show them any better treatment and better working condition, at least work with the government and see that the minimum wage goes up to 470. My thing was that it should have been at least $500. But take off 25 from each week, that's 100, say for our chart by $100, $1,900 a month. How can we not be happy for that? How can we want to hold a whole society at ransom? Because a penny coming out of your $1,000,000 that you're making, or millions of dollars that you're making, just an extra penny coming out. Not even that you're bending into. That can't break you. Kind of flexibility, financial flexibility you have, you wouldn't even miss that increase. But like I said, brother, you really want to pay attention to the poor man and you want to increase the minimum wage, you must adjust the hour and the hourly rate simultaneously, unless you will not be able to effectuate the economic changes that you would like to for poor people. On that note, I'm done, and all sort of people don't want to call me now, but I would accept their calls. I could provide an explanation, and you have the best of the rest of the night. Thank you.
The opinions and statements made by the host and participants in this program are not those of the